Welcome, and thank you for joining us this afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world today. We've got a fantastic hour ahead of us, and we're very fortunate to have Dr. John Demartini live with us in this webinar. My name is Brandon Tankott, and I'm here to help facilitate this webinar with you. And I've been on a life mission for bigger part of my life in order to understand the things that help shift me and focus me in all different areas. And in that process, I was stumbled across Dr. Demartini's work, originally from The Secret, and got exposed to all his teachings. During that process, I was privileged enough to go to some of his seminars here in South Africa. So I really consider myself a humble student of his work, and am very excited, as I'm sure you can hear, to be able to spend this hour with him, the same as you are in the room. So what we're going to do in this hour, we're going to be running through a few very specific questions that we'll be asking John Demartini, and you will have some time near the end to talk to him and ask questions. The webinar is going to be running for an hour, so I recommend that you keep a pen and paper handy. You want to make sure that you get down those little nuggets of wisdom when John gets them ready for you, and write them down. We'll also have a recording of this webinar available so that if you do miss something, it's more important to be present and really absorb what John is saying to you, because the wisdom that he's about to impart to you, especially around this topic about financial empowerment, it's very important that you pay attention. Right, so let's introduce John, and then we can welcome him on. So for those of you who don't know who Dr. John Demartini is, he's a world-renowned human behavioral specialist, educator, and internationally published best-selling author. He's considered one of the leading authorities on personal development, and the knowledge he shares is a culmination of 43 years of cross-disciplinary research. As a gifted teacher, he travels the world delivering keynote speeches and other educational seminars which assist people to develop their potential and become empowered in all areas of their life. He delivers 350 to 400 speeches a year across numerous countries and has shared the stage with some of the world's most influential people. He's also the author of over 100 self-development books and manuals, 10 of which are commercially available and translated into 29 languages. He's produced over 60 CDs and DVDs covering subjects such as relationships, wellness, education, finance, and business. Tonight, the topic of our webinar, like we said, is the 5 pillars of financial empowerment and wealth building. And personally, for me, this is a very big topic. Being an entrepreneur for 16 years, I've seen both my ups and downs and the middle ground of trying to build wealth and attain some level of financial success. So, John, welcome to the webinar. It's a privilege to be with you again. And I believe you're in Chicago today.
I'm in sunny Chicago. Cool but sunny.
Cool but sunny.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're in Pretoria, capital city of South Africa. So technology is amazing that I'm able to spend, and everyone else can spend this time with you. So, John, what we've done to prepare for this webinar is the Demartini Institute has prepared some questions for us that we know a lot of people will get massive value from. So I'm going to go through these questions, and if you could just elaborate on them for everybody that's in the room, and what we'll do is bounce between them from there. So I'll go to the first question. Do you believe that every human being has the ability to build vast wealth, or is it just a fantasy that is sold to the masses? Is it really realistic, John, in your opinion, for everybody listening on this broadcast? Is it really possible for someone to achieve financial wealth and a financial legacy that extends past their lifetime?
I like that question. Well, I'll start by saying that every human being has already genuine wealth. And genuine wealth is different from financial wealth. Genuine wealth is the well-being that occurs by the fulfillment of what they value most. So if you have a high value on family and children, then that is where part of your wealth is stored. In fact, if somebody tried to take one of your children away, you'd say they're priceless.
That depends on the day.
Yeah, it depends if they're teenagers.
Yes.
But if somebody was to say, I'd give you $10 million for your child, you'd say, no, I'll take my child, thank you. So many people store their wealth in what they value most. That's not necessarily financial wealth, but they store their well-being and wealth. Some have it in social context because they have a high value on social connections. And so their social network is part of their wealth. Some have it in their beauty and their you might say their appearance. Some people have it in their intellectual content, their intellectual property, like myself. Some people have it in their spiritual quest. And some people have it in just business savvy. So everybody has wealth, but it's in what they value most. That's the way it's stored. But not everybody has financial wealth unless financial wealth is highest on their value structure. What does that mean? Everybody lives by a set of priorities, a set of values, things that are most important to least important in their life. And whatever that hierarchy of values is, it determines how they spend their money and what they do with their life. It determines what they perceive, what they decide, and what they do. So if you have an income, regardless of the amount of the income, the amount that you receive that's yours will be spent according to what you value most. And if you have a higher value on spending money on depreciables and consumables and immediate gratifying things, instead of actually putting your money into true assets, that could be stocks and shares in stocks, owning companies, owning real estate that is rental properties, owning commodities of some form, something that actually has an intrinsic value, that's an asset that gives a return on investment, that you receive money from and put money into your pocket. Unless you have a value on that more than the depreciables and consumables, the second you get money, you're going to spend it instead of save and invest it. So in order to have financial wealth, you have to have a higher value on building an asset accumulation than you do on immediate gratifying consumables and depreciables. So the hierarchy of your values dictates your financial destiny. And if you have a higher value on wealth building than anything else, you're increasing the probability of having a wealthy destiny. If you have a higher value on everything else instead of wealth building, then the second you get money, you'll spend it. And I know for myself, when I was up until I was 27, 28 years old, whenever I would save money, and I was pretty good at saving money, but it would always buy things. It would buy a car, it would buy a bicycle, it would buy clothes, it would buy things. It wasn't until I turned 28 that I had a shift in values and my values of wealth building began. And that's when I started to save and increase the quantity of saving repeatedly and consistently until the percentage of the savings became pretty significant. And I started accumulating assets that I invested where the passive investment income then exceeded the active income. So financial independence does not occur unless you have a higher value on wealth building than you do on spending money. And every decision you make is based on what you believe will give you the greatest advantage or disadvantage, greatest reward over risk at any moment. So if you believe that there's more advantages in buying things for immediate gratification than long-term vision of buying assets, accumulate wealth, you'll keep spending it and not making it. And it has nothing to do with how much money you make. It has everything to do with how you manage what you make, and your hierarchy of values determines that. So will everybody be financially, wealthy, financially wealthy? No. If I ask out of thousands of people that I ask around the world, I ask them how many want to be financially independent. Everybody puts their hand up. I ask how many are financially independent. Most hands go down. Less than 1% make it to financial independence. And that's because less than 1%, when we do value determination on these individuals, they have a higher value on actually buying assets than they do on spending on things. And the people that have a high value on just buying and consuming things, being immediate gratifying, they're not likely to build financial fortunes unless they marry somebody that has a higher value on wealth building, or unless they have a shift in values. So can everybody do it? The answer is the potential for everyone to have a shift in values and to build wealth is high. It's possible. But will they do what it takes? Are they willing to change their values if they don't have a value on wealth building? Because if they have a value on wealth building, they're already on their way. If they don't, then they have to have a shift in values. Can they? Yes. In the Breakthrough Experience program that I've been teaching for many years, I show people how to shift values and what steps to take if they would like to raise wealth building on their values. But if they don't have a desire to do that, then there's nothing to expect. It's anytime you expect to be financially independent without the values that will take you there, you're going to end up beating yourself up and thinking there's something wrong with you because you can't seem to get ahead. I've actually interacted with people that have earned over $6 million in a year.
Wow.
And barely could pay their bills, their taxes at the end of the year, because they had a higher value on a fancy car, fancy travel, fancy art, fancy parties, fancy house, fancy stuff, more so than paying their investments and paying their taxes. And they had to borrow money to pay their taxes. They had no investment at the end of the year. And I've had people that work for that individual that only made $24,000 a year, but was saving $400 of that each month and was closer to financial independent than the person that had $6 million. And you would think, well, how's that possible? How could somebody make so much money and still not have enough money to pay their bills and pay their investments? If you don't have a value on it, you won't. You'll just keep raising your lifestyle and keep spending your money on those things that you value more. So it's not about how much you make, it's how you manage what you make, and your values determine that. So can everybody do it? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No, unless they are willing to shift their values. And if they don't have a shift in values and they torture themselves with the fantasy of being financially independent, their life will end up being a self-depreciating nightmare and frustration, thinking it's going to happen somehow, doing the same things, getting a different result. So the hierarchy of your values dictates your financial destiny, and money circulates through the economy from those who value it least to those who value it most. So if you don't value wealth, it doesn't stay with you. You have to value serving people. You have to value wealth building itself. You have to value yourself, and you have to value learning about it and valuing the study of it, because it takes study and mastery of wealth building to build the wealth, sustainable wealth that builds fortunes.
Well, thank you, John. And I think it leads into the next question, and it really does make sense that different people, how you see how those people interact, and how some people, like you say, they'll go out and buy the house, the cars, and have all those material things, but not necessarily the wealth. So, would you say that there's a set of characteristics that you could profile a person, or not, maybe not profile, but a set of characteristics that's most likely to help a person to achieve or acquire that amount of wealth? What type of characteristics would that person need? And could someone go ahead and acquire those and still remain authentic?
Yes. You can't have fulfillment in life unless your goals match your values. And you have only two ways of doing it. Either know what your values are and set goals that match it, that are congruent with the highest values you have, or shift your values to match the goals you say. So I would have to say that less than 1% have a high value in wealth building. Most of the people I meet, and I do a value determination, wealth building is not in the top 3 or 4 value structure, and a set of values. And they're astonished. They think they have a value in wealth building. They say, oh, I want to be financially independent. But the truth is they want to spend their money like the lifestyle of the rich and famous, instead of actually methodically and patiently and boringly accumulate wealth. I remember a great mentor of mine said, if you're excited, you're probably screwed up. And if you're really bored with the financial process, you're probably saving methodically and patiently watching it grow. So can a person do that? And what's the character trait? My observation is that the majority of people that do not have wealth and financial independence have a higher value on family orientation, social orientation. And I find that the people that have a higher value on wealth building are the people that have intellectual pursuits, left brain orientation, and business savvy, business focus. If you don't have a desire to serve vast numbers of people and build a business that serves people, you're not likely to get an income that's going to ever have any potential for accumulating wealth. If you don't have a desire to run a business efficiently where you can maximize profits, you're not likely to do it. If you're not likely to want to save a portion for long term and accumulate it and build investments and continually work on studying investments and learning and mentoring and having foresight with investments and accumulating it and having a cause for building wealth, the probability is very low. So yes, I can spot when I do a value determination off my website with people, or I'm live in my Breakthrough Experience program, I can tell right off the bat the ones that are going to and the ones that don't from their current values. But I also show them, if they decide to change those values, I show them how to do it, because we stack up positive associations and pleasureful associations and benefits and reasons for building wealth. If we have a big enough reason for doing it, we'll change our values and we'll do it. When the why is big enough, the hows will take care of themselves. So if I stack up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reasons why building wealth will enhance my life and help me fulfill what's meaningful to me, I will increase the probability of now seeing opportunity, taking advantage of opportunity with decisions and acting in a way that leads to wealth building. But it didn't happen to me till I was 28. And then a shift occurred, because I realized that I was going to spend my whole life working for money if I didn't have it work for me. And so I had to have a shift in values. And Up until then, I was good at getting money and saving it and then buying a car, and getting money and saving it and then buying a house. And a house isn't an asset. It's just a lifestyle unless you downsize and sell it and make some capital gains out of it. So most people don't know the difference between an asset and a lifestyle. And until they do, they're probably not going to be wealthy. If they don't know exactly what their assets minus their liabilities and their net worth is, if they don't know exactly what they need in order to have the income, the passive income based on the interest rates that they think they can earn, if they don't know exactly what they're going to earn and how much they want per year, and they don't know exactly how much it takes to get that, and they don't have a strategy for doing it that's escalating upward, they're really saying, I don't have a desire for wealth building, because there is no way you're going to be financially independent without those four things. Knowing exactly where you are in your net worth, knowing exactly what it takes that you want to live on per year, knowing exactly what interest rate you think you can earn on passive conservative numbers, and what exactly is the total you need earning that amount to give you that amount. Unless that's clear in your mind and you have a strategy to obtain it, you're basically telling the world that it's a fantasy, and you'll keep beating yourself up, and years will pass by, and you'll think, well, gee, by now I thought I'd be, but it seems like it's not happening. And you'll want to blame the world on the outside instead of get clear on what's really focused, what's really important to you on the inside. So the moment you really truly value wealth building, it becomes your reality. But your life demonstrates your values, and people that have financial independence have different values. I live on a ship called the world. I've interviewed most of the people that are there, and most of them have very vast fortunes. Many are billionaires. There's no doubt in my mind the ones that do are the ones that have a high value on wealth building. They couldn't have got there without it. And the ones that don't, which I meet sometimes on the average street or in some people in the seminar that don't have a value on it, they struggle constantly financially. So all I can say is the hierarchy of your values will dictate your financial destiny, and you can change them. And there are certain personality traits that go with those values because they're what's making your decisions.
Thank you, John. And that's it. And that a lot of the products and books that I've read of yours, and we'll start now on the 5 pillars. The first one is exactly that, the hierarchy of values, the book that you spoke about. And it makes so much sense to me because I see it all the time in business people that I interact with. How some people seem to just fly and it make it look effortless, and other people seem to struggle constantly all the time, despite the best efforts and everything they put into it. I'd love to hear you explain from your perspective, how could you accelerate our financial empowerment? This is the first pillar.
Well, I'm gonna divest for a second here, just for a second, because I just thought of something I want to say. I have attended seminars on wealth building over the years, and the ones that had real substance were not the highly marketed ones. They were the ones that people found from referrals mainly. And I found that the ones that had pictures of yachts and pictures of penthouses and pictures of gold and pictures of fancy cars and pictures of that, most of the time I found that those were selling people on a dopamine fix for immediate gratifying purchases. And the ones that were more dry and more factual and more actual, they're the ones that didn't always sell the most, but had the highest quality people in there learning. So I just wanted to add that in there, because if it's got substance, it's going to make you accountable. You cannot build wealth without accountability, without due diligence that I've seen. Now, you asked about the 5 pillars. The first pillar, as I've just addressed, is your value structure. Without that in place, I've yet to see anybody become financially independent without having a high value on it. The people I know, I just did a program in Sydney recently, and I had about 92 people in it. It was my Master Planning for Life program. And there were a whole spectrum of people, from people that were stretching to come to the program to people that had quite an enormous amount of money. And when you go and look at their values and look at what they're writing and what their focus is and what the questions are, it's very straightforward. The people that have a high value on wealth building, they have it in their top 3 or 4 values. I usually say 3 to 4 values. If it's not in those top 3 or 4, unless you're going to move it there, it's not going to occur. You're going to keep having things above it that you're going to spend money on. And you can't seem to get ahead. I mean, it's amazing. People struggle because they are expecting to get wealth, but they have a value and keep spending it the second they get it. I got to share a story. I did the Breakthrough Experience program in a doctor's home Dr. Doyle, who lived next door to Microsoft, Bill Gates, the head of Microsoft, and is in Seattle and Bellevue, actually, Washington, where Bill Gates lives. And he was right next door while Bill was building this new house on the right side. He was still living on this other side. And this guy living in between that is the one that had the breakthrough experience. And he was telling me the story about how he got that house and how he built it. And he struggled in his practice for a 10-year period as a doctor. And then he went to a seminar and somebody woke him up about what I'm saying about unless you really value wealth, it's not going to happen. You're going to keep spending it. So he had a shift in his values. And he started saving, and he told his wife, we're going to save like crazy, and we're going to live moderately, and we're not going to raise our lifestyle until we reach a certain level of savings and accumulation so our investments start to buy a greater lifestyle. And he literally went into high gear on the savings process. He waited to purchase land at the bottom of the crash on the real estate market. He accumulated wealth in the form of bonds at the time that were having great yields at the time. And he just kept building his wealth. And anyway, he ended up with about a $13 million home next door to Bill Gates as a result of him being patient. The first 10 years, he had nothing to show for his work. The second 10 years, he was one of the wealthier people in Bellevue. And what he did is he temporarily held back his immediate gratification for his long-term vision. And today, he has not only the long-term vision, but he's got the gifts and the lifestyles rich and famous because he's earned them, and he can do them passively. So the hierarchy of values are crucial, and I keep pounding those into people that people fantasize that they're going to go to a seminar and they're going to learn how to do it overnight without having a shift in values. It's not going to occur unless you have a shift. Unless you truly, truly have a value on wealth building, it's not going to stick with you. You're going to keep having excuses. You're going to keep going off and putting your money wherever you value most. And I've watched this over and over for the years. I'm very grateful that my values shifted at the time, and I started on my journey, and now I get to have the lifestyle that I want, even though that's not what's really important to me. And I'd rather be researching and doing teaching, as you can see. But the point is that building wealth has to be something that you really value. You can't fake it. Your life will demonstrate your true values. Your words mean nothing.
Thank you, John. And I could say that as a testimony for my own life when I started to identify, not in particular with wealth in this particular case, but in my own health. I wanted to be healthy and sign up to gym and all that type of thing. It never really happened until I started shifting that and realizing and connecting in your processes why I wanted to be healthy. And when I did that, I flew. And that really leads to what you mentioned in some of your other works is a person's deserve level. Now, do some people deserve wealth more than others? Or how do you explain deserve level, and how do you increase your deserve level?
Well, I just did a presentation last night in Chicago on that topic, so I'll summarize it. There's two factors that affect deserve level. The first one is congruency. In other words, whatever your values are, whenever you are acting congruently and in alignment with what's truly highest on your value, the top value or top 2 or 3 values, if you're living according to your highest values, your self-worth goes up because you tend to walk your talk. You tend to have discipline, reliability, and focus. You tend to spontaneously be inspired to act. You're willing to embrace challenges in the pursuit of a cause, a purpose. This is the key, is congruency. Now, wealth demands congruency. But second, congruency with a high value on wealth building. So in other words, you can have congruency without a high value in wealth building, and you'll be congruent in dedicating your life to your children, or dedicating your life to your church, or dedicating your life to your synagogue, or dedicating your life to social causes, or dedicating your life to rescuing people. But if you have a high value on it, you're congruent. You have great self-worth. You'll feel valuable. You'll feel like, hey, I'm a great person. I do great things. You have a high self-worth. But you will not have a high net worth unless you have the second component, and that is a high value on wealth building and then be congruent. So congruency to your highest values increases self-worth. Congruency to your highest values with highest values being wealth building creates a self-worth and net worth. And that's the distinction. Because I know people that they have a higher value on pleasing people and social causes and helping family, that the second there's problems in the family, they pull whatever money they have out and they'll rescue family members. That's because they have a higher value on being liked by their family than they do on wealth building. And until they can say no to outer distractions on spending of money and say yes to buying assets is not likely to occur. So you need a value that you're living congruent by, and you need a higher value, or the top 4 values at least, in wealth building. And wealth building will demand service. You're not going to get wealthy unless you're serving people, and you're not going to serve people unless you have a value on serving people. So you need a value on building a business that serves vast numbers of people. You need a value on making that business efficient so there's a profit. You need a value on saving it to stabilize the business. Cash reserves are most noted in the biggest companies. And you have a desire to go and invest, to learn about investing, and actually wanting to learn and study and mentor under investors. You have a desire to accumulate, because if not, you'll just buy clutter after you accumulate enough for financial independence. And you'll have a cause that drives you to do something extraordinary with your money, so you can leave a legacy in your life instead of just running out at the end of your life. So in the process of those things, that means you really value it. You can actually have a degree of self-worth, but your deserve level will be proportionate to how congruent you are, and your financial deserve level will be based on how well you're congruent with highest values of wealth building.
Fantastic, John. And that's pillar number 1 is your hierarchy of values. Pillar number 2 is your deserve level. Now we're going to go into pillar number 3 and 1 that I think has been personally one of my stumbling blocks over the years. And I've done a lot of interventions in trying to fix it, from vision boards to seminars, courses. I think we've all gone through certain elements, but it's your mindset. How can someone change their mindset or look at their mindset in relation to creating money opportunities and growth? How does mindset play a role?
Well, I think that's the crucial thing. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, until you can manage your emotions, don't expect to manage any money. And volatile emotions destroy wealth, and strategies and objective reason builds it. Warren Buffett spends hours and hours and hours reviewing balance sheets and profiles and intrinsic values of company. And he's studying objective data, not going by emotional sentiment and trying to pick stocks on a daily basis based on the emotional sentiment of the stock market, which is in most cases gambling and speculating. He's interested in buying a true asset. And you got to know the difference between a true asset and a fluctuating emotional price on a share, which is a gambling casino, which I don't recommend unless you're really watching it every day. That's not a wisest way to do it. Although you can make wealth that way, it's a gambling game. You got to really know your odds. You need to know probabilities. You need to know your left brain mathematics to understand it. But the thing is mindset is the key, because if you set a goal that is congruent and aligned with your highest value, your blood and glucose and oxygen goes into your executive center, the forebrain, the medial prefrontal cortex, and that area of the brain is involved in inspired vision. You can see your outcome you want, strategic planning, so you can have a strategy on building the wealth that you want, executing the plan, and self-governance. And so self-governance means to calm down and mitigate the volatilities and dampen the fluctuations of impulses and instincts in our life. They're the 2 primary things that screw up wealth building, which is fear and greed. Greed is infatuation, fear is a phobia, resentment. And those 2 mechanisms are the thing that disturb wealth building. It's the methodical, consistent, strategic, long-term planning of wealth building, buying true assets that build wealth. And so mindset is crucial, and you will automatically have the mindset of the wealthy if you live congruently with your highest values, and your highest values in the top 3 or 4 are wealth building. That will automatically occur. So it's the same answers derived from each other. The first one is crucial. The second one is a derivative. The third one is also a derivative of the first pillar. And so I know that as you accumulate wealth, if you don't have a cushion and don't have accumulate some cash, you're highly volatile. So the first thing to do is to accumulate cash to build wealth, is to accumulate cash. I always say, save before you invest, before you speculate. So build up enough cash where then the volatilities of the market aren't running you, your strategies are running you. Like I said, emotions destroy wealth, strategies build it. Long-term vision builds wealth, immediate gratification costs wealth. So the key is to get into that executive center, and the way to do that is to live congruently, and the way to do that is also to have a value in wealth building. So my 6 steps to wealth, that is my CD program, or my wealth wisdom, the Where's My Billion video. If you have not watched those or read those or listened to those or whatever, make sure you go there, because those are the steps that increase the probability of you having wealth building at the top of your value list. It's important. In the Breakthrough Experience, I have people every week that say they want to be wealthy, and I go through those 6 steps. to help them move in these 5 pillars. And I'm amazed at how many people, they go, well, they stop at their comfort zone. And so they really say, I don't really want wealth. I just want the lifestyle. And so when you really seriously want to do that, if you go through the 6 steps, building a business that serves a greater number of people, and building and managing the business where it's efficient, and saving an ever progressive portion of the profits, and investing in ever greater degrees of leverage, and accumulating a fortune, and creating a financial cause that leave a legacy. If you have those as your values, you're going to increase wealth. Bill Gates built a business to serve vast numbers of people. He and Paul Allen managed it to where it was maximally profitable. They accumulated 1/3 of their entire wealth sitting in cash. They then invested in ancillary companies that helped save money in their company. They accumulated a fortune, and now they've got the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that's going out and making a difference in the world. They followed the 6 steps to the letter, and they had a value on doing that, and that's why they've got there. And anybody can change that, but will they do it? The probability is whether or not they get this, they hear what I'm about to say, and they take the time and put the action in it. I've had hundreds and hundreds of students who've taken the time to go through my 6 steps to wealth building and follow these 5 pillars and change their financial destiny and have accumulated wealth today. I've seen it in the breakthrough experience week after week. The people that come back and say, I did this 6 years ago, and I've accumulated now $2 million or $5 million or 600,000 or whatever the amount is that they're accumulating. And they didn't think they could do it initially, but they started to shift their values, and they have the results today. That's why I want people to do the breakthrough experience and get that understanding and learning how to use the DeMartini method to mitigate the volatilities of emotions that distract you from wealth building. Many people get emotionally charged about people in their life, their spouse, their kids, or people around them. They get emotional, and when they do, they get unfulfilled. And when they do, they go into the amygdala, out of their executive center, and they go into immediate gratification, and then they blow their strategies. Learning how to do the DeMartini method to mitigate those emotions, learning how to prioritize things and living according to value, highest values, learning how to stair-step the highest 6 steps to wealth building will change your financial destiny. I am absolutely certain it can change your life financially if you want it. But if you don't have a desire for that, you just want to buy the Jimmy Choo shoes, then fantastic. But you might want to consider marrying a bald-headed buzzard at 72 that's got wealth if you do.
A bald-headed buzzard, I love that. And I think in a world where instant gratification, sorry, that's brilliant. A world of instant gratification, people forget the simple steps that saving. I love that you say save before you invest, before you speculate. I think that's something that everyone needs to hear more and more often, because it may seem boring to a lot of people, but I really do believe that's very profound words of wisdom. So thank you, John. The next pillar, number 4, is you talk a lot about the principle of fair exchange. And in my own life, I try and live by this principle because I've seen how it's shifted so much of my relationships, clients, personal, interpersonal. In everything I do, I try and make sure that I'm in fair exchange. And it's sort of my personal barometer. If you could, how does that impact financial empowerment and wealth?
Well, that is extremely powerful because what happens is anytime each of us have, you might say, fluctuating emotions about ourselves. So anytime we start to puff ourselves up and get proud and kind of cocky and self-righteous and superiority complex and think we're better, greater, smarter, more powerful or more influential or better looking or, more successful or more savvy than somebody else, if we do that relative to our employees or our customers, and we don't care enough to learn and listen about what their needs are and what their values are and what they want to buy, we'll lose contact with our market, and we won't have an income source. On the other end of the pole, if we minimize ourselves and feel sabotaged and shamed and inferiority complex and minimizing ourselves, when we go to the negotiation table, we'll tend to sacrifice away our profits. So anytime we exaggerate or minimize ourselves, we then do foolish things with fair exchange and our exchange with money. Our transactions become unequilibrated. So the key is having what they call equanimity within yourself, when you're truly you. I mean, I really believe that the economics around you reflect your life, and they're trying to guide you to be authentic, where you're having equanimity and you're not exaggerating or minimizing yourself. Some people call that the soul, the state of where you unconditionally love yourself. In the Breakthrough Experience program, I teach people how to obtain that state. I show them how to master that state. That is the most powerful state to empower all 7 areas of life that I've been able to find in all my 44 years of study. And having equanimity is what maximizes fair, sustainable exchange. When you do business and you feel you give people less and they feel that they got shafted, if you will, they're not going to want to do business with you anymore. And if you feel like you gave too much and they didn't pay as much, you don't want to do business with them anymore. It's only when you have fair exchange that you have sustainability and a continued expansion of networking to grow businesses. So if you get cocky and you don't listen to your customer, down you go. If you get humbled and give away your profits in negotiation, down you go. But if you have a fair exchange where you have equity, where you and they are in equilibrium and you want to help them and you also want to help yourself and you have a fair exchange, you have the key to growing wealth. Sustainable clients and customers that want to keep doing business with you. So care enough about it. You have a built-in thermostat. You called it the barometer, a built-in thermostat for that equanimity. And everything in your life is trying to get you there. And wisdom, in the breakthrough experience, I teach people how to gain the wisdom to listen to the cues of their physiology, psychology, sociology, and environment, trying to get you into that equanimity state. Because the universe is trying to help you be authentic and actually help you become powerful and wealthy. It's helping you. But you first have to basically maintain fair exchange. That's the key.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. Going on to the last pillar, pillar number 5, is the magnitude of your vision. You elaborate a lot on having the big vision and obviously that being able to pull you forward. Could you take that a little bit further? How important is that in empowerment and wealth building for an individual, the magnitude of their vision?
Well, I'm going to finish something up on the 4th one I just thought of before I do the 5th one. When you're living congruently with your highest value and you're inspired from within spontaneously, you have the greatest degree of resilience and the greatest degree of reason and objectivity. That part of the brain dealing with reason, as McLean described in his tripartite aspect of the brain, he explained that when we have reason, we're less emotional and we're more objective, not subjectively biased. It's a subjective bias that creates the volatilities and interferes with wealth building. And when you have reason like that, you're more resilient and more adaptable to no matter what happens, and you will see whatever happens is on the way toward your goal instead of in the way. And that's the attitude that allows the perseverance and determination for long-term vision of accumulating wealth. Now, the 5th pillar about magnitude of vision is very crucial too. And again, it's a derivative of the 1st pillar and all the pillars. And that is that whenever you're living congruent with your highest value, the space and time horizons expand. Because when you do, you walk your talk, you tend to achieve things. And when you achieve things, you want to expand and do more things. You want to continue to take on bigger responsibilities. When I opened up my practice in 1982, I wanted to see 20 patients a day. When I got to 20 patients a day and I got myself organized there, I went to 30 patients a day. When I did, I wanted to go to 50 and 75 and 100. When I broke 100 patients a day, I wanted to figure out how to get other doctors to do the same. Then I wanted to see how many more clinics I could do the same. Nature automatically tends to allow us to expand and automatically grow our vision to the degree of our congruency. So if you have a congruency with your actions and your highest values, and you fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you and delegate low priority actions that don't, you automatically expand your vision. And once your vision gets bigger than your life, you create an immortal effect, a legacy. I've said in my breakthrough experience program and other programs that the factory worker lives literally hour to hour and sometimes day to day. The supervisor lives day to day, week to week. The lower management month to month. The middle management year to year. The upper management possibly decade. The CEO and vision. The CEO basically is thinking in terms of a generation. The visionary is thinking of a century, and the sage is thinking of 1,000 years, a millennium. The magnitude of space and time within your innermost dominant thought will determine the level of conscious evolution you've obtained and the wealth potential. Because if you can't see yourself having a global company, it's not going to happen. You've got to be able to see it. I know when I opened up my practice years ago, I went and got clocks from all over the major cities around the world. I got a map of the entire world, and I wanted to see patients from around the world. I already saw a global vision. And we literally manifested people from around the world. I positioned my office next to a big mall where big hotel complexes were, and that people came from around the world to shop. And I picked up patients from around the world because it was my primary intention, because the vision was there. If you don't have an astronomical vision, don't expect a global effect. And today with the internet, you're forced into a global effect with the internet. So if you're not expanding yourself with congruency and expanding your space and time horizons, you'll be missing out on the greatest opportunities. Your worst clients will be the ones called you. The second worst clients will be your family members and spouse. The third worst clients are your friends. The fourth worst clients are your acquaintances. The fifth one are the people farther from your acquaintances. The farther your magnitude of space and time in your thoughts, and the greater the vision you have, the greater the clients you get. And so there's a power of being congruent, always affecting this whole process of wealth building. In the breakthrough experience, I show people how to determine what their values are, how to prioritize their actions, how to stick to the priorities, how to delegate those things, how to make sure that they're living by congruency, to expand their game, to expand their vision, to decrease their volatilities, to be able to have self-governance, leadership capacities, and empower their lives. Not only financially, if they raise wealth on their list, or any form of wealth in their life that they may be dedicated to. There's no reason why we can't impact the world and make a vast difference. The truth is that's what we want to do.
And I agree. We've gone through the 5 pillars now, starting from the hierarchy of values, the deserve level, fair exchange, magnitude of vision, mindset. And in this short amount of time, I personally, I've been absorbed in the teachings and have really triggered a few of my own thoughts and jotted down some notes. What would stop myself or anyone else in the audience from following through on these 5 powers? Because you've summed them up in 40 minutes and you can change someone's life just in those few minutes. But what stops us from actually implementing it and following through with it?
Well, this is something that I addressed last night in Chicago and literally every city so far this year that I've spoken in. And that is, the moment we go out in the world and we see somebody that we think is more intelligent than us, more degreed than us. That means they have more degrees, more knowledge, more background, more successful in business than us, more financially viable than us, we think, more family stable than us, and a better, more attractive spouse, for instance, more socially savvy and more influential and more of a leader than us, more attractive, more fit than us, or sexy than us, or maybe more inspired and spiritually aware than us. The moment we go out and meet somebody that we perceive, and I'm going to emphasize perceive, that we perceive that they have something we don't, and we're too humble to admit what we see in them is inside us, we immediately shrink ourselves, exaggerate them, and start to live in their shadows, and we tend to inject their assumed values into our life. We tend to inject what we think we see them doing into our life, and we cloud the clarity of our own highest value, our own telos, our own purpose in life, and we shrink instead of shine. And we live in their shadows instead of standing on their shoulders. And we start to play small. And when we do, we end up self-depreciating because we expect to live outside our own highest values, which is automatically self-depreciating. The A, B, C, D, E, F, Gs of negativity, which is anger and aggression, feelings of blame and betrayal, criticism and challenge, despair and despondency, the desire to exit and escape, frustration and grouchiness and grief. All these A, B, C, D, Gs of Gs of negativity, FGs of negativity, are responses to us trying to live outside what we really value. The universe is trying to kick our butt and trying to get us to be authentic and live congruently. And whenever we don't, we get those symptoms. And they self-depreciate because as long as we're pursuing a false pathway, we're designed to have that, to associate those experiences with falseness, to try to get us to be on track with who we are. Now, this whole positive thinking movement has actually screwed people up because it's making them think, well, they need to get rid of those feedback mechanisms and only live in this fantasy world of positivity. But the reality is those feedback systems you need to listen to make sure you adjust your goals from fantasies to goals, real goals that are real congruent with your real values. So the number one thing that undermines people from building their wealth also is subordinating to outer authorities and comparing themselves to others instead of comparing their daily actions and their highest priorities to their what's most meaningful to them. Whenever you get focused on your priorities for the day and fill your day with the highest priority things that give you a result that you know moves you one step closer towards your goals, your self-worth goes up, your willingness to say no to outside injunctions and people's expectations, and your empowerment goes up, and the magnetism goes up, and the brand goes up. Instead of living vicariously through other people's brands, you empower yourself. And the number one thing that undermines that is subordination. And it's not that we don't want to mentor and learn from people out of respect and equality, but not subordination. That's like trying to be a second Elvis or a second Michael Jordan or something. I'd rather be me. I was asked by Vogue magazine a number of years ago, Dr. Demartini, if there's anybody in the world you'd like to be, who would it be? And I said, I have nobody I would rather be than Dr. Demartini. They said, really? And I said, yeah, why would I want to be anybody but me? And they go, oh, that's the first time anybody's answered that way. I couldn't believe it. I wouldn't want to be anybody but me. That's who you want to be, yourself. You want to be at the end of your life. You want to say, did you do everything you could with everything you were given? You want to say, yes. I had an inspired life. I made a difference. And I lived authentically. I don't have Bonnie Ware's regrets.
And it's amazing how much power comes from just being yourself. And personally, I attend to that too. When I try to model myself, I went through a lot of those courses modeling myself on other people, and I realized, gee, I'm just getting tripped up more and more. And when I started to find out, and during the process of my values and seeing, oh, but wait, actually that's not in alignment, things just started shifting drastically. You've mentioned a lot, John, during this talk, the 2-day breakthrough experience seminar. I know you run them in major cities all around the world. Could you explain to us just quickly, and for the people that maybe haven't heard of it before, what is the breakthrough experience, and how could that assist them in dissolving any blockages they may have for their financial empowerment and their level of financial success they could achieve?
Well, first of all, I want to share that I'm about to do in Chicago here, the breakthrough experience. It'll be my 1,093rd time. So I'm really inspired by that. I've done it quite a few times, as you can imagine. The breakthrough experience is a program to help people do extraordinary things with their life. It's a workshop. It's not a huge rally with thousands of people. It's a workshop where we get down and we get, I guess you say, nitty gritty, and we get in there and identify what your values are. And we go in there and all of a sudden wake up the realization of why you're being empowered or not empowered. I help you by teaching you the Demartini method, I help you dissolve fears and phobias that you've built through your life, guilt, shame, pride, which undermines, resentments to yourself or others, infatuations, philic fantasies, nightmares that you've accumulated, grief, anything that is stored in the subconscious mind that is distracting you from being empowered and present and purposeful. I show you a science, a methodical science on how to dissolve that. Then I make you go through it, and we spend hours learning how to do that so you have that tool for the rest of your life, how to clear out baggage. Because believe it or not, most of the decisions they found in the brain are run from subconscious states, where their impulses and instincts from the primitive part of the brain, because of our phobias and all our emotions, instead of having objective reason and actually strategizing and laying out priorities. So I first help you identify your values. I show you how to prioritize and structure your life accordingly. I show you how to dissolve all the distractions and emotions that weigh you down and hold you from living congruently. And then I show you how to own the traits of greats, so there's no subordinations there. And what people do is I don't know what they're coming with. Some people come there and they're having problems with their relationship. And as you know, you could have an undermining relationship and build wealth, and then all of a sudden divide in half and destroy your fortune in a divorce process. So I show people how to communicate what you value in terms of other people's values, which helps you in sales, helps you in communication, in management, and leadership, and in relationships. I show you how to basically identify other people's values in your own and how to link them so you can help them get what they want, so you get what you want, which enhance wealth building. I show you also how to equilibrate the mind so you're not emotional, so you're more stable, so you don't have all these volatilities and manic depressive states, which many people live because they keep trying to live in lower values. I show people how to build the values and raise the values up. So if they want to build wealth, they can, if they want to, or anything else they want to build. I show them how to restructure their value system to get goals. I show them how to live congruently. I show them what I call the manifestation formula, which is a secret left out of the secret. That's really the secret about how to be congruent. I show them basically how to basically change their business strategies so they're not doing low priority things and draining themselves at the end of the day, so they have more energy at the end of the day than when they started in business. We work on social leadership skills and how to build their leadership, because if they're congruent, they wake up their natural born leader. I show them how to make a difference, because the real difference we make is when we're authentic and unique according to our own unique fingerprint specific value system. So I literally go around the wheel. I showed them how to interpret their physiology and how their physiology is guiding them to the center point, and what their symptoms in their body could interpret it to be as, because I believe that the symptoms of the body are trying to get you authentic and trying to get you back to your highest value so you can live congruently. I go through all areas of life, how to live an inspired life. You can't live an inspired life unless you're serving people and have the capacity to delegate lower priority things so you can live by your highest meaningful things. But I go through and I show people how to wake up their genius, how to build their business, how to build their wealth, how to enhance their relationships so there's more love and intimacy. I show them how to build their leadership skills and show them how to build their wealth and vitality. So like me at 62, they're still vital, and how to be inspired. I believe that any area of our life we don't empower, we're going to be overpowered. I show them the laws that govern relationships between their spouse, kids, or anyone, and I show them how to empower all 7 areas of life, the most efficient ways that I've learned in 44 years. That's just a touch of it. So we have people coming in there for health reasons that to come and clear their health issues up. Some people on relationship issues, some on business development, some on financial, like we're talking about today. Some just want to live a more inspired life and they've been drained and they've been overwhelmed with chronic fatigue and things of this nature. I've seen people change their life from that program. Again, I've done it 1,092 times and I've done it in 63 countries, and I'm absolutely inspired to do it. I do it every weekend and I love watching lives change. I don't think there's anything greater than watching people transform their lives and seeing the light bulbs go off and they changing the trajectory of their life. I get testimonials and letters daily coming in from that program. And that is one of the most inspiring things I do. I keep a record of all those in my gratitude journal every day. And so the breakthrough experience helps people break through whatever's in the way so they can see life on the way.
And that's incredible. And that it really, for me, in hearing what you're saying there, it's a huge privilege for me to be able to be part of creating that channel for that breakthrough in people's lives. I've always wanted to, in all the businesses I've done, help people to connect with opportunities like this. And really, we're going to be putting up an offer in a few minutes into the right-hand corner of the screen here, where the audience will be able to participate in the breakthrough experience. It's been running. We've got 5 cities around the country where it's going to be running. And what we can do is you can just pop through, click onto the link. It's a limited time offer for this webinar that's been put together by the DeMartini Institute. And if you've listened to what John is saying, and if you felt that it vibrates with you and you can really understand with and connect with what he's saying, I would really recommend that you click through that link now. It's going to be up in a few seconds, and go through, take a look at the options. The value of that is about $5,000, but what we've done is you've got early bird specials, and there's a 10% saving and complimentary bonus worth $400 for Inspired Destiny online course, which I would really recommend. Even just the online course will give you massive shifts in your life. John, just quickly, while we've still got you on the line, and I know there's a lot of people in the broadcast now who would love to hear from you. One last thing, could you give some advice of relating to people's dreams and mastering their lives? Is there something that you give them now, one last little bit of advice that they could relate to their dreams and mastering their lives? Something that they could use today to break through?
How many minutes I got? Let me just share this. I got an email, 2 emails this morning, okay, of a lady who went to the breakthrough experience who was plateauing in her life. She couldn't seem to break through this plateau. She had this glass ceiling, or whatever you want to call it. And we uncovered in the breakthrough experience a deep issue that she had when she was 11 years old that she didn't even know it. It was buried in there. And what happened is she saw her father come home angry and get violent with her mother, and they lived up in a higher floor, and he almost threw her off the balcony and almost beat her to death. And the daughter felt responsible because she couldn't rescue her mom. And she was in this terrorized situation, dissociated, which was part of the reason why she had challenges in her life. And we broke through that, took that, and transformed the entire perception where she had her heart open again. And the moment she did that, now this is not just recently, this is a few months back, her whole willingness to receive income went up because she was burdening herself with guilt and shame, which is the number one thing that blocks people from receiving. She was burdened with guilt and shame since 11 years old and was unable to value herself. So she was in relationships that were devalued, people that would devalue her. No matter what it was, if she starts to get money, she'd give it away. She was constantly doing things that were undermining her wealth and literally almost every area of her life. And we cleared that. And she wrote this amazing letter. She says, thank you for the breakthrough experience. Unbelievable. Another guy who had a situation where he thought, he was making good money. He was doing better than the average, way better than the average, but he again had a plateau. And he did the DeMartini method that we do in the breakthrough experience on his father, and broke through a moral issue from his religious father, because his religious father said that anybody that makes more than $55,000 a year is a crook. And so in the process of doing it, he heard that in his brain, and he was subordinating to his father's value system, and it was running around and reverberating in his brain, and he had internal conflicts between what he wanted and what his father expected. And we showed him how to dissolve the infatuation with the father, clear out that injunction from the father, and he went from 50,000 to 200,000 the next month. Unbelievable shift in his business. Unbelievable shift. So I just want to say that if you're carrying around any way a shame or a guilt or a remorse or anything you think you screwed up, or any form of belief that you're sabotaging, or you messed up, or you should have done this or whatever, find a way of coming to the breakthrough experience. Let's clear that, because that's holding you back financially and holding you back in many other ways. It'll keep you from having the relationship you want. It'll keep you from having the career path that you want. You won't have confidence in yourself. So I'm a firm believer that you want to basically clear that baggage. There's so much in the subconscious mind that holds us back, and there's no reason for us to do it. We have tools. I share them in the breakthrough experience. Once you learn them and apply them, it sets you free.
Thank you, John. And I want as many of the audience as possible to take that action, because I know in my personal life, when I took action and I actually signed up for the event, bought the book, came to a seminar and sat in that space, took the pen and actually wrote down and went through the process of determining my values, that the shift actually happened. So for the people that are in the audience now, the offer is up on the right-hand side of your screen. You just have to go and click on the offer, the breakthrough experience. Then you can claim your additional 10% saving and free bonus worth $400. The offer is going to be available for the next hour and a bit. And the DeMartini team, everyone's on standby, ready to process your order. You just need to click through, go onto the link. Immediately in the top of the fold, you're going to be able to see the countries: the United States, Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, South Africa, and the specials that are related to your country. And remember, by booking your ticket now, you're also claiming that additional 10% saving and bonus. So John, thank you for that. So when people come through to the breakthrough experience and they spend time with you in the seminar, the things that they're going to be learning, how long do they get to spend with you in that seminar?
More than they
So it's with you, though. It's not with a facilitator. It's with you live.
Well, I start at 8 in the morning and go to at least midnight, and then and sometimes later, and then we go again from about 9 in the morning till about 7:30 at night, and it fluctuates. If we go really late on Saturday night, we start a little bit later, but it's 24 hours with me, and I'm there. And I have facilitators assisting on a ratio of about 1 to 6 to 1 to 8 people in the seminar. And these are workshops. They're not, again, big rallies. But I'm floating around the room and I'm helping everybody. And I'm making and if any facilitator has a challenge, because I want the facilitators, because I've trained 4,000 people on how to use the method. And I want them to help me help people. And I want them to be there for people also. But I'm there the whole time. And I'm answering questions and solving issues and helping people break through stuff. It's an intense, it's not a rah-rah rally thing. It's not the fun, dancing on chairs and putting your hands up in the sky and chanting kumbaya kind of stuff. We're getting methodically focused on you mastering your life, becoming a leader in what it is you want to lead, and breaking through the limitations that are holding you back from something great. So it's me. I'm there. I'm still doing it.
Wow, that's brilliant. So for the audience that's in, we're going to be leaving this offer up. So again, click on the offer on the right-hand side, claim your bonus. The team are standing by. We've got a flurry of questions, John, that have come through. So I think while we've got a few people going, and I can see people already jumping onto the offer, and I'm glad that they're actually heeding the opportunity, because they're getting superior value. I think fair exchanges, I think you actually offer exchange in abundance, in my personal opinion, but people must really jump onto that offer. So we've got a few questions that come through, and I've seen a few that are really, really beautiful. So let's just jump on one. We've got one from Ton van Gilst. What is the most concrete steps that you can give a 23-year-old student with debt on accumulating wealth? And I know that's particularly of interest to a lot of people in the world.
Well, the first thing to do if you've got debt is to write down a list of benefits you've received from this debt. Because if you're ungrateful for the debt, it's harder to pay back. So write down all the benefits you've received, because maybe it allowed you to get an education. Maybe it allowed you to get a place to live while you educated yourself. Maybe it gave you an insight or the possibility of more options in your life. But write down what was the benefit you received of the money you borrowed for that debt. So you're grateful, because when you're grateful for it, that debt is easier to pay. That's the first thing. The second thing is to chunk the big debt down from the total into what you pay per year, per month, per week, per day, per hour, and then realize you want to convert that amount of payment, whatever it is per hour, into units of service or product sales. You always want to service the debt by converting debt into service, and then focus on service. Focus on doing something that produces income. If you focus on serving people and doing something productive, your debt goes down. If you focus on your debt, your service and productivity goes down. You always want to convert your debt into service and focus on service. So if you don't have a service and you don't have a source of income right now, then you're accumulating debt. Be grateful for it. It's allowing you to get the education you want. But as soon as possible, find a way of serving people, because otherwise your debt's just going to accumulate and you're not going to be able to pay it off. So find a way of serving. When I went to professional school, most of the students got in debt. But I made a commitment that I was going to serve my way through school. And I taught every night, literally 6 and 7 nights a week, on whatever I thought the students would benefit by, sometimes test reviews, sometimes national reviews, sometimes topics that I was inspired by. And I accumulated 15 to 20 students every night, paying $20. And I made enough money, nearly $100,000 a year, just teaching it, so I didn't graduate with debt. Because it doesn't matter what age it is. If you're 22, I started at 23. That's the age I started my teaching. So there's a way of doing it. You always want to ask, how can I do what I love and get paid for it? Instead of how can I afford to do it? How do you afford to do it is a debt thinking. How do you get paid to do it is a customer related productivity and service thinking. So convert your debt into services, be grateful for the debt, and focus on serving people. And then methodically, electronically pay off your debt and savings simultaneously, and never stop the savings and investment pathways, regardless of your debt. Start saving and investing, even if you have debt, and accelerate both over time, because you'll always pay your debt off. But if you never develop the habit of saving, you'll just keep getting yourself further in debts over and over again.
Thank you, John. And I think that's a fantastic answer. If everyone in the audience, I see there's a lot more people taking up the offer. The team is waiting for you. So please book on that. I'm going to run through 1 or 2 more questions, John, while people are taking the opportunity of the massive savings and discounts for the breakthrough experience in their countries. We've got another question here from Andrea. In How to Make a Hell of a Profit and Still Get to Heaven, which was one of Dr. Demartini's books, you suggest to save 10% of our monthly income, then to add the 10% of that 10% to our savings every 3 months, and so on forever. Is that right? If I got it wrong, or it's unclear, can he explain? That's from Andrea.
I started at age 28 saving $200 a month. At 3 months later, I developed a habit of that. I didn't feel overwhelmed by it, because at first it was a lot to me. And I just did it. And then I did electronically. I didn't emotionalize it. I didn't write checks. I did electronically, so I couldn't get emotions in. Always want to get your emotions out and your strategies, electronics in. I made it 300 3 months later. And I did that for 3 months, made a habit of it. And then I raised it again. Because maximum growth and development occurs at the area of comfort and uncomfort. So the second I was comfortable saving for a few months, I increased it a bit and made it uncomfortable. I made it then 500 3 months later, then 750 3 months later, then 1,000 3 months later. When I had $1,000 a month, I ran a projection of where I would be in the future, and I realized I could be a millionaire in 34 years. Long way away, but I didn't stop there. I increased my savings from that point on 10% every quarter. And I found out that 2 years later, I was saving $2,000 a month. 2 years later, I was saving $4,000 a month. 2 years later, I was saving $8,000. 2 years later, I was $16,000. 2 years later, I was $32,000. I went up to $64,000 and then $128,000 in a month. I just kept increasing it. I kept building the strategy until I was saving over 50% of my gross income for my business, which compressed and made my primary business more efficient and maximize my profits. And so I accelerated my savings. And it was like when I managed money wisely, I kept receiving more money to manage. And money goes where it's managed wisely. So yes, but it won't be indefinitely. You won't do that the rest of your life. You'll do that until you reach a certain threshold of compressing your company to its maximum efficiency. It'll probably be close to 50%, maybe 60%. So it depends on the type of company you have. Some companies you can't compress that tight, some you can, but you keep doing it until you maximize your systems and consider alternative companies with the brand that you build. So you can then do it again with other brands. And so, or other companies in the brand, subsidiaries. So I just did it 10% every quarter. And I'm telling you, that is a very powerful tool. And if you don't feel you can do 10%, do 5% or 2%, but do something to increase it every quarter so you keep at the comfort and uncomfort zone and push yourself.
Thank you, John. And I know you've got a lot on your plate. You're in Chicago. It's the afternoon there, so you've still got a lot on your. Do you still have a little bit more time for one or two more questions?
I would love to take them. I'm inspired by this.
Fantastic. Me too. Let's see. We've got one here from Mendy. What do you think about affirmations? How does one go about creating a good affirmation?
Well, the word affirmation has been misconstrued by some of the new age and kind of the modern day pseudo-mystic constructs. They've been trying to think that affirmations is a positive statement and negations are a negative statement, and you need to say only positive statements and have positive outcomes. I think that's very shallow personally. The word affirmation in its original root meant to make firm in one's mind, to affirm in one's mind. And the only thing that's going to stay firm in one's mind is something that's linked or congruent with your highest value. So if I said to myself that I'm a master cake decorator and cupcake manufacturer and delivery company, it's not congruent with my highest values because I don't cook, for one. I haven't cooked since I was 24 years old, and I don't drive for the last 26 years. Haven't driven in a car in 26 years. So that would be incongruent. And if I said that, it'd be false. But if I said that I'm a master teacher and researcher and traveling the world and inspiring millions of people, then that would be congruent. And it's a statement of fact. So you only want to make statements that are aligned and congruent with what your life demonstrates, or you've got countercurrents and self-depreciating negative self-talk that's going to surface, that's going to counterbalance it. You don't want to set up fantasies that breed nightmares. You want to set up goals that are congruent and affirm. I always say that if you say, I'm always happy, I'm never sad, I'm always positive, I'm never negative, you got a delusion. But if you say whether I'm positive or negative, whether I'm supported or challenged, I'm grateful, for I know that both are homing me in on my authentic self and keeping me humble when I'm cocky and keeping me lifted when I'm down and centering me to fulfill my greatest mission. You want to state things that are checkups from the neck up, that are congruent with what's really valuable to you, that your life demonstrates that you're committed to. Then the power of affirmations is profound. They're reminders on a daily basis of what's highest in priority, and they're reminders of the principles that you live by.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. And just quickly, while we get to the next question, the offer is still open. Please jump onto the right there and click the book offer. We have a question here from Dick Hai. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Hi, John. Thank you so much for this webinar. I have a question. How would you inspire someone, a spouse, to raise their financial wealth in their values?
Well, anytime you want to impose your own values onto somebody else, just know you're going to get resistance, because people want to be loved and appreciated for who they are, and who they are revolves around their own highest values. That's their identity. So first, find out what their values are presently, and find out what their values are, the top three, serve you, and make a list of how they serve you so you're grateful for them. And when you're grateful for them, they're more receptive to opening to your ideas. Then I would basically find out what their values are, and I would ask them, how specifically could saving money, serving people, making money, saving money, building a business, and all the keys of wealth building, how could they help you fulfill what you value most? Because if they can't see how the steps to building wealth are going to help them, they're not going to do it. They're going to resist it. But if you can ask some question and draw out of them how it will do it, their own answers will help them see the connection and increase the probability of them acting in a way that build wealth. Let me give an example. When I first was married to a lovely woman named Athena many years ago, she was really good at spending money. She was a master of purchasing, particularly shoes. I think she was a centipede in her previous lifetime, and I had to believe in some sort of reincarnation to account for all the shoes she had. And she had thousands of pair of shoes. And so she had to be some sort of centipede. And I said, okay, I've got to go from shoes to eventually move to stockings. And then from stockings, I knocked off the ings and I went to stocks. And slowly but surely, I explained to her that the stocks can buy her shoes instead of her buying her shoes from working. And so I communicated in terms of her values, which were shoes. And believe it or not, I got her into the savings. We opened up an electronic savings system. We put a little bit in there. I showed her a projection sheet of where it would be. I told her at the end of a year, the interest off what she would earn would start buying her one pair of shoe a year. And if she kept doing it the following year, it would eventually be 2 to 3 a year. And I eventually showed her that she could actually have her money work for her and still not erode the principal and erode some of the interest, and it could buy her the lifestyle that she wanted. And we went through there, and I said, because when you get in your 50s and 60s, maybe even to your 70s, you may not have the desire to work as hard, and you want your income working for you. So she transitioned from buying shoes to stockings to stocks. And I assure you that made a difference. She got involved, and it was very inspiring to watch the stocks grow. So you can shift it, but you have to communicate it in terms of their values. If you help them get what they want, they'll help you get what you want.
Shoes to stocking to stocks. That could be the title of a book, just putting it out there. A very, very good title. For the people that are still in the room, and I know there's a lot of you that are waiting to have your questions answered, I just want to, before we carry on with any other questions, just remind you that the DeMartini Institute team is on standby. If you've got any questions or if you're struggling to click on the booking offer, you just type into the chat. Everyone's there to support you and help you on this journey to get you where you need to go and help you experience the breakthrough we've been talking about over this last hour. And I would personally urge you to really jump on there, book now, go and take a look at the prices. If you want to attend the breakthrough, clarify your vision, increase your focus, achieve your goals, break through any limiting beliefs, overcome a challenge, reduce stress, and the list goes on and on of the benefits that you could actually achieve by attending this. Plus, you're getting the bonus over 4 hours and 8 minutes, 14 sessions of the Inspired Destiny online course, and over 24 hours live with Dr. DeMartini in person. And if you think you can learn a lot from him in an hour, in 24 hours, I'm sure you will learn an incredible amount. So I'm going to jump to one last question quickly, John, and then we're going to close off the webinar. Let's see. Alana just posted here, could you please talk about writing 100 benefits of growing wealth? Can it be done, for instance, I will be able to travel more and in more comfort, or is that a lifestyle? David.
The answer is a great question. I'm so glad that that's brought up, because many people write down, when I say write down 200 benefits of building a business to serve vast numbers of people and ever greater numbers of people, they immediately start thinking, oh, I can buy that yacht, I can travel the world, I can buy those new clothes, I can have that new house. That is the benefits of spending money on consumables and depreciables on lifestyle, not building a business. The benefits you write on building a business is that it will teach you leadership skills. It'll teach you how to delegate. It'll teach you how to manage people. It'll give you the fulfillment of watching people grow their skills and relinquish those skills so you can be able to do what's more important to your life. You'll be able to add to the economy, be able to help them help their kids go to school. The benefits are to you and to actual benefits of building a business, learning how to structure and organize a business, learning how to change infrastructure and scale the business. If you don't have a value on building a business, then you're just going to want to spend money. So you got to write down 200 benefits. And why 200? If you write 20, you'll stop at your comfort zone. You already got those. Those benefits aren't making a shift in your values. It's like if you went to a trainer, a muscle trainer or whatever, and he said, well, I need you to do 10 push-ups. Well, you could do that. But unless he pushes you to 100, you don't build any muscle, or pushes you beyond your comfort zone. So writing down 200 benefits guarantees that you'll remyelinate the pathways in the brain, so you have a higher probability of making a decision to grow a business that serves people, so you have a source of income than just spending money all the time. So yeah, you don't want to just write down that the benefits of the lifestyle and spending money. That's not the benefits if you're going to build wealth. That's the benefits of actually spending money. I want the benefits of building a business that serves vast numbers of people. the benefits of managing the business effectively and efficiently to maximize profits, the benefits of actually saving and accumulating wealth, which is changing the quality of your clients, less volatility in the business, new associations, opportunities, and ideas that pop in your head because you're associating with new people because you're accumulating wealth and more people come to you. More people buy you lunch and dinner and more brand management and more opportunities to attract and magnetize people to you that grow your business. I mean, I could go on and you grow your profile. You want the benefits of actually building those things instead of spending those things. And all the 6 steps that I mentioned in the first pillar, you want to make sure you do hundreds of them. I want you to write down enough benefits until the why is so big, the hows take care of themselves, and you have a change in your behavior. That's when you know you have enough of them. And keep going until your behavior becomes congruent and you're seeing that you're getting the result you want. In Breakthrough, I show people how to do that so they make sure that they get the result.
Thank you, John. Could we sneak in one quick last question? I know I said the last question was the last question, but it's very rare that we get this privilege to spend time with you like this, and I'm really enjoying myself. So this one, I'm sneaking in on behalf of someone in the audience. But again, to everyone in the audience, if you have any questions, the DeMartini team are on standby and ready to help you with taking up the offer. It's a fantastic offer and one of the most powerful life solution seminars on the planet, in my personal opinion. And with 43 years of research diluted or put into something that's very easy, very practical, that anyone can run with. So please take an opportunity to jump on that offer. Let me get that question. That one I've read. There we go. How can you overcome the fear of failure that stops us from taking a risk and starting a new business? This one is from Rayana.
Okay, so Rayana, here's the deal. Anytime you set up a fantasy, you're going to feel a nightmare. Anytime you create a philia, you're going to have a phobia. So anytime you set a goal that's a fantasy that hasn't been thought through with the executive center and strategize to mitigate the risks, you're going to have anxiety and you're going to hesitate and procrastinate and frustrate yourself because you haven't done the due diligence to do a business plan to make sure that it's a viable, strategized, I have a way of getting there feeling. So if you're having any anxiety about taking action, it's because that your goal is either not possible, it's fantasy, not probable, it's not linked to your highest values, or it's unstrategized and not broken down into small enough bites that you know you can take action on. So in the meantime, while you're doing a proper plan to make sure that the business you have really has a market that really wants it, because it's hard to hell to build a business when there's no people wanting to buy it. You want to make sure you're not projecting assumptions of what you think the market wants onto the market, finding out what they really want, finding out what the price marks are, finding out how to go to what they will buy, and then work your way back in your company to figure out how to deliver it in that price range. Make sure you got the functions of the organization that's needed to do it. Think through it. Think of all the challenges you're doing. What will you do in case that occurs so you can mitigate those? Once all those are mitigated, once the strategy's in place, once a true business plan is there and you think out the numbers, you don't have an anxiety as much. It's mitigated away. But if you don't do that, you're going to be setting up a fantasy and having anxiety, and it's going to make you hesitate. In the meantime, if you're working for somebody else, go and ask, how specifically is the job I have now and the duties that I have now going to help me build this new company? So you see it on the way, not in the way. Otherwise, you'll be torn between wanting to hurry up and start something that hasn't been planned and not appreciating what you've got, which it drains your energy. If you're grateful for the job you have now as a transition to go to where you're going, and you strategize what you're going to do, you'll make that transition and you'll take action. But chunk it down into small baby steps. Incremental changes that are small build big dreams. So break it down into small enough steps so you don't have anxiety taking them. And every day you work towards it, that high priority actions towards your dream, you'll eventually get there. Just stay with it.
Thank you, John. And I'd love to stay with this webinar, but unfortunately we've reached the end. I just want to, from me to you, and I think on behalf of the rest of the audience, thank you sincerely for your time, and also the thousands and thousands of hours that you've invested personally into the education that you bring to all of us, and the beingness that and the change that you bring to the planet. I'm personally inspired by it in my own life, and it's an honor and a privilege to be with you on this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you to the DeMartini Institute and everyone sitting behind the scenes. Some of us are in South Africa, so it's late at night. Some are all around the world. I just want to thank all of them for making this happen. And more important, thank you to the audience for taking action and making time available to come and sit with us and to shift their lives and get that breakthrough. Thank you very much, John, for your time.
Thank you. I'd like to say one more thing. Whoever's out there listening still, just give yourself permission to do something extraordinary on planet Earth. Today, give yourself that permission and start today. And take action and join me at the Breakthrough Experience. And thank you for being with me today on this this wonderful webinar. It's amazing what technology can do. We can reach thousands of people just by being present.
Thank you very much, John. And again, the offer is on the right-hand side. You want to click through the Breakthrough Experience, claim your additional 10% saving and free bonus worth $400. You can click through on that. We'll leave the room open for a little bit, just for the people that are still processing their transactions, and so that the team can help them. But John will be leaving the room now, and we'll be closing off the webinar in a few seconds. So thank you very much for everybody. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on where you are in the world, and be blessed. This is Brandon Tankard signing out. Walk in peace. Thank you very much, John.